Hello YouTube, it's your boy Afro Ade coming in once again. Thank you for coming to this video. This one's going to be about my top 10 favorite African queens of all time. And the last video I talked about my top 10 African kings of all time. So let's give the ladies some credit too, because you know they've been putting a lot of work in for us as well throughout history, alright? So please go ahead and give me a like and subscribe. And also after this video, go ahead and leave a comment for me, okay? Appreciate it. So for number 10, the first woman we're going to talk about is the wife of Amenhotep III, aka Queen Tai, or Ta. Okay, now Queen Tai was most likely Nubian, especially with her features and like the way she looked. She definitely was somebody very important to Amenhotep the III, you know. And as far as I'm concerned, I feel like he kind of made a great stepping ground as far as how women or how your wife should be treated. This man built countless monuments to her name. This man built an artificial lake for her, and he built countless things for her, showing just how important she was to him, you know, essentially symbolizing that she was just more of his equal than just his wife. Okay, that was a huge impact that she had on him. All right, now with number 9, we're gonna talk about Queen Nefertiti, the wife of Akhenaten. All right, it's speculated that she might have been a Mitanni princess. There's speculation on that, but we're not 100% sure. But one thing I can definitely give you some insight on is that she was very resolute and strong as far as her supporting her husband's movement, as far as his monotheism. Okay, so one thing I talked about in my last video was Akhenaten was one of the main leaders throughout history who implemented the worship of only one God, one true God. Okay, this god was known as Amun. Okay, and Nefertiti, being Akhenaten's wife, helped him really build up that credit as well. Now, although like things did not last after they both died, even with Tutankhamun completely getting rid of all that, it was a huge stepping stone, because countless religions were formed from this one monotheism religion. Countless religions got like their ideas, you know, and that was a huge impact they had on history. Number 8 will probably sound a little bit familiar. This is going to be Queen Makeda. If you don't know who she is, I'll simplify her name for you. The Queen of Sheba. Exactly. Now, you guys definitely heard that. She's mentioned in the Bible, and she was known for visiting King Solomon and giving him gifts. Now, this was noted in the Bible and noted countless places throughout history. And there was also an Ethiopian tradition going along saying that she had Solomon's child, and essentially because of this, she actually ended up starting a dynasty known as the Solomonic dynasty, which is a group of men that claim descent from King Solomon of Israel. Okay, so that's quite interesting. And as stated before, she does have a shout out in the Bible, which is pretty dope. Cleopatra, in my opinion, will be number 7, because she was very quick-witted. She was very smart. She was very good at manipulating people to get essentially what she wanted. And when you look at the history of the Ptolemies and how neglectful and how idiotic not idiotic, but they weren't running Egypt as it was supposed to be run. They weren't really doing anything as far as running. They were more so concerned with like their own power and things like that. They didn't really care too much about actually running their country. So when Queen Cleopatra came in, she definitely changed that, and that was something that was extremely important. Now, it might have happened a little too late, because the Roman Empire was very powerful at this time, you know, and they were eventually taken over after Mark Antony lost the battle against Octavian. But she was very smart, like I said, very quick-witted. She was very good at politics, and that was something that was extremely important. The only issue that happened was she bet on the wrong guy. You know, that was really it. But other than that, she was very smart, very quick-witted, as stated before. And Unfortunately, like if her predecessors were a little bit smart in how they ran their country and diplomacy and politics and all that, then maybe Ptolemaic Egypt might have not have fell, you know. But the sixth queen I'm going to talk about is Queen Nzinga, who was the queen of Angola. Her story starts off kind of like her being the daughter of a wife that's basically kind of a side chick, but she didn't let that stop her, and she eventually ended up being the queen of Angola. And she welcomed slaves with open arms that were like running away from like slave catchers or slave masters, and she protected her home against the slave raiding Portuguese. And the best part was, while she was alive, they couldn't even get one foothold in Angola. Not to mention, she stopped countless attempts of her life being taken away by the Portuguese as well. The Portuguese tried countless times to kill Queen Nzinga, all to no avail. It was only until she died, right, naturally, that's when they can come in and do whatever the hell they want. Okay? Queen Amina, which is a Hausa queen, was also important as well. Her story is more so people can't really tell if it's just legendary or not, or if they're referring to somebody else who lived around that time. But she definitely was very powerful and very strategic. She led armies into battle, and she was responsible for expanding the territory of her people, and she was known as a legendary Hausa queen as well. Okay? The next queen we're going to talk about is Queen Kahina. Queen Kahina was an Amazigh queen, or if you don't know what Amazigh is, you probably know them as the name they do not prefer to be called as, which is Berber. They don't like the historical context behind it, so they prefer to be called by their own name, the Amazigh. And essentially, Queen Kahina was an Amazigh queen who was responsible for halting the expansion of the Arabs when like the caliphates were starting to come in. Okay, she united countless Amazigh tribes to fight against them and was successful. Okay, it was so bad that the Arabs actually nicknamed her the witch. You know, and the Arabs do that to a lot of people. Like for example, like the Makurians, or Kingdom of Makuria. You know, the Nubians that like I said, were just good at shooting people in the eye. The Arabs came in, tried to take over. They went back, countless people being shot in the eye, and they nicknamed them the pupil poppers. All right, and or something like that, something along the lines of pupils. And Queen Kahina was nicknamed the witch. All right, so, but at the end of the day, though, she stood up for her people, and she stood up against a whole Arab invasion. All right, so that shows you her prowess and strength in battle. And this is a kind of so this is not much of a surprise too, as in Amazigh culture, women do have a lot more rights than a lot of other cultures around the world, and leading armies into battle or leading raids is one of them as well. As far as number 3, Ya Asantewa was one of the leaders or the matrons of the Ashanti Empire in modern day Ghana. Okay, so the Ashanti Empire essentially was responsible for implementing firearms earlier on compared to any other African nation, which is the reason why they lasted so long in the first place without being overtaken by colonialism. Okay, but right when they're going to be taken over, right when they're going to be conquered, they need to protect their golden stool, which was given to them by Osei Tutu, and was something that was an extremely powerful symbol for them, for their rights, for their people. Okay, and the British wanted to take it and destroy it, to like destroy any hope of like rebellion, and to really crush and defeat them. You know, remember, war is just as much like mental as it is like physical. So they tried to take the stool and like destroy it as to demoralize the Ashanti people. Ya Asantewa was a woman, matron in the Ashanti Empire, that moralized all of her men when they were starting to like get scared about losing. She basically said something on the lines of, no, like they would not talk to your ancestors as the way they talk to you now. Okay, what happened to all of like your pride, your strength? If you men will not fight, then we women will. And in that instance, that was enough to moralize the men. And although like they eventually were taken over by the British, they were able to keep safe the golden stool, which was something of very importance to them. So as far as they were concerned, it was a win regardless. The next queen I want to talk about is Queen Hatshepsut. Queen Hatshepsut was responsible for bringing in a lot of the glory that once belonged to Egypt. She, first and foremost, she was a woman, and she ruled behind the throne as pharaoh, which was very rare in Egypt. Egypt, like, they had a lot of laws, equal rights for women, but as far as pharaohs, they weren't too okay with that. And she ruled behind the throne, given her brother, aka husband, was fairly sick, and she essentially ruled behind the throne. And because of this, like, her father essentially, like, preferred a guy, but she was still his daughter, and he still taught her how to rule and everything that she needed to know. She was responsible for, like, adding the land of Punt to, like, the empire and re-establishing trade routes that were corrupted by the Hyksos invasion. She was also responsible for essentially just keeping Egypt running, keeping Egypt powerful at the time of civil strife, which could have occurred any moment. She had to make sure her specific dynasty did not fall because there were talks going on. So she was manipulating things from the back of the scene, and even went so far as to do her best to keep her murals ingrained into her society, to make sure that she was not taken out of history. Now, even with this, people still try to erase her name from history, but she put her name and her statues all around the place because she knew that something like this would happen. And eventually, she was found out, you know? So Hatshepsut was definitely one of the most important pharaohs to ever exist, just because of the prosperity that she brought to Egypt and the stability as well. Okay? Now, the last queen I'm going to talk about is Queen Amenhotep. Queen Amenhotep was a Kandaki queen. A Kandaki essentially meaning literally a warrior queen or a female leader, and essentially she was responsible for stopping the Roman invasion into her lands. The war started in the first place because of the abuse of Egyptian Roman leaders of their power, breaking the treaty that Queen Amenhotep's mother made with Rome. They made a treaty with Rome to give them a certain amount of gold, just so they can keep them out of Nubia. However, one of the viceroys, or one of the generals or governors of Egypt, abused their power and attacked Nubia, or started to abuse their power. And when the Romans essentially left and were on campaign in Nabatea in Arabia, that's when they took their chance and raided the area. Okay, now the war was fought hard, and even the Romans themselves had a little bit of a success as well. Queen Amenhotep then relied on politics to resolve the issue, and stated, essentially, this happened because of your men abusing their power, and because of this, all the lands of Nubia that were lost were given back. All Nubia would have to do was just pay compensation for all, like, the towns and cities they raided, and then everything would go back to being the way it was. So the treaty was highly favorable in Amenhotep and Nubia's view. Okay, so that was something that was very important. Okay, you don't really hear about something like that. An African kingdom taking on another great, powerful empire like that. Okay, besides the Ethiopians taking on the Italians, or like the Makorians taking on the Arab Caliphate at the time. Okay, so that was pretty interesting. But please tell me what you guys think about this video, about all these queens. Tell me, like, which one's your favorite. Give me some comments. Tell me if there's anything you like, you didn't like about this video. If you liked it, like I said, subscribe and like. And please please wait for my next video to come out. All right, have a great day, guys, and I'll talk to you guys later.